where do you place pricing in your SaaS organization? One thing is doing a pricing project sort of once, but another thing is to do pricing as an ongoing activity within your SaaS business. So that then becomes an organizational question. So who does it? Where do they fit in the org chart? And how do you organize it? And I would say that you can do it in a few different ways, but I think the one that I'm going to show you now is the, let's say, first and most sort of surefire way to place it in most SaaS organizations that are, let's say, somewhere between 5 million and 100 million ARR, so that level. If you're below 5 million ARR, you usually just have the founders running it on an ongoing basis, and you're not necessarily ready to have a full function doing it because, well, you have other hires to make, right? And if you're above 100 million ARR, usually the org chart becomes somewhat bigger. You have more divisions, you have more different lines of products. So the pricing function could then be lodged, let's say, centrally or locally in those product arms and so forth. So that becomes a little bit sort of more of an it depends type of question. But within, let's say, relatively, this sort of relative size between 5 and 100 million, this following setup usually works pretty well. So the setup is it functions, that is it follows. So you would have the CEO and then you would have the different sort of functions in your SaaS business. And usually you would have some sort of sales, marketing, product, customer success, and finance. And if this doesn't look exactly like this in your org chart, just accommodate whatever look. Maybe you don't have sales because you're all product led. Then it would usually be marketing, and then you have product. Maybe you have product marketing as an independent function. That's fine. You have customer success. Maybe you don't have that. Maybe you have a professional service arm. Finance, well, most people have some sort of finance function, but maybe you also have like a CTO function separated from the product. All that is fine. Just accommodate to whatever fits you. The idea is that you have, let's say, senior leadership running different functions in your organization. Some are focused on building the thing, some are focused on selling the thing, and some are focused on just the overhead. You say finance, HR would also be here. So what I would usually say is that the pricing function needs to usually be lodged under one of these. And it can be under finance, but doesn't necessarily have to be. If your head of finance, your VP finance isn't very commercially oriented, then maybe that's not a good step. It can be under sales, but also usually I would say, well, maybe not, because sales tends to be very, very revenue driven and not that product driven. So it can create some sort of unnecessary friction between sales and product if it's lodged in sales. So I usually place it in either product or in marketing in most of these org charts. But the idea would be that you have the regular, let's say we place it in products, so you have the regular org chart with all the different, let's say, people that are in there, and then you just create like this new little branch of the product team, which is the pricing function. So it will usually be VP of product or VP of marketing if you put it over there, and then you assign them 2 resources. One is a project manager and another is an analyst. Someone that can run tasks, schedule things, organize surveys, run things across the organization, and do, let's say, all the execution of a lot of these tasks that you're going to run in the pricing function. And then the analyst is the person that actually does spreadsheets and does some calculations, does some what-if scenarios and so forth. And then you have the, let's say, VP product sit as the head of the pricing function. So, and then we want to separate 2 things. We want to separate what I call the function layer, which is the ones actually doing the work, which means that these are the ones that says, well, what should we build? How should we package? How should we price and how much should we price? They answer these questions, but they're not the ones that decide it, because you then have a layer up here, which is the committee layer. Is that how you spell committee? Let's hope that's how you spell committee. Committee layer, where you say, well, we usually have a selection of people, executives, in the committee that meets on a recurring basis. I would usually say once a month. It depends a little bit on your sales cycle, because I think the function should be, maybe not in the beginning, but they should soon ramp up to be able to produce changes or recommendations in a cadence that, in the same cadence as the sales cycle. So if you have a 3-month sales cycle, you probably want to change pricing and packaging every 3 months, or be ready for it, or be ready to every 3 months saying everything is fine, we don't change it. But that is the speed with which you should be able to make decisions and make changes. If you have a 30-day sales cycle, then you just need to move faster in pricing, because sales is the cycle with which you learn from the market and with which you get revenue in. So you usually should be able to match this in the pricing function. And because you have these people sitting in the committee and they have been deciding on what to do, it becomes much easier for this project manager to then go into sales and say, hey, the committee just decided that we're going to do new discounts. So we're going to do new discounts. And because the VP sales was in that meeting and he agreed, then it becomes much easier to implement in sales, right? Or if the project manager does something with, we want to track something, or we A/B split test a pricing page or whatever it is, then we can go to marketing, and because the VP marketing was already in the meeting and helped decide it, then it becomes much easier to implement. So we have these roles inside the organization, partly because they need to help execute it once it's decided, but also it's because within their domains and they have different aspects of the business, that the different, let's say, sources of information that they can bring into the decision to make better quality decisions. So this is my, let's say, quick and dirty framework for how to organize pricing work in I said 5 to 100 million ARR SaaS businesses. Run the function, a small team that sort of owns doing all the work. Run the committee, meet on a monthly basis or so to actually make decisions. The function then recommends and then after executes inside the different functions with the help of the committee members that sit at the top. If you do it in a different way and that works for you, keep doing that. But if you haven't really begun doing it and you're just looking for a template or a framework and start doing it, then this might be for you. So I hope it helps. Good luck.